Welcome to the Uncle's channel. Thanks for watching today. Now let's talk about Resident Evil 4 because me and my wife recently just finished up the remake and it was perfection. I love the story, the action, the aesthetics, and just everything about the game. It was the best horror experience I've ever gone through video game wise. But it also got me thinking, what is it that makes a great horror game? It's not the amount of blood in the game, otherwise games like Mortal Kombat would be right there at the top, and those aren't even horror games at all. It's not the aesthetics in the game, otherwise games like Elden Ring would reign supreme. They got some of the most terrifying creatures and landscapes out there. So maybe it's the psychological aspect. This one always gets me. A game that messes with your mind a little bit, stresses you out, creates tension, but even that alone can't make a game scary, otherwise games like Among Us would count. And that doesn't make you jump at all. Maybe hate your friends, but never jump. It's not the survival aspect either. Otherwise games like Animal Crossing would without, you know what, forget it, let's just declare Animal Crossing the best horror game of all time. But really, going with the survival aspect isn't what makes a great horror game either. Honestly, it's no one single aspect that makes a great horror experience, but rather a combination of all the elements together. I would say a truly great horror game is like the perfect combination of being gory, creepy aesthetics, tension, and survival. Throw all these elements into a game and you've got what could be a perfect horror experience. So today, let's go back to where this video all started and explain why Resident Evil 4 Remake is the perfect horror game. Let's start with the aesthetics of the game. When I think of horror, I love a good cult aesthetic. And where do cults often take place? Small villages, corrupted churches, and medieval castles. Check, check, and check. The villages that you get to explore have the perfect muted colors to bring out the regression of a society, and they are just littered full of citizens who have been corrupted and are aggressive to any intruder. These early areas of the game exploring the citizens' home and being chased through dilapidated structures sets the tone for how powerful the cult force is and how far its influence stretches. They are haunting and they show the degradation of the average person due to the cult. Burning intruders, fires all around, chainsaw men in masks, it's perfect. From here you journey into the church and the castle, which shows the nature of the heights that a cult can reach and the imagery in those areas. You have traps, catapults with trolls, isolated bridges to cross, parasitic monsters, and just overall darkness of a castle mixed with internal destruction. Man, it's just great. I'm sure it looked really good in the original GameCube game, but the revamping of all the structures and the graphics brings the horror to life in all new ways. And something that I hinted at in the first part, but didn't elaborate yet on, is the gore. The gore in these areas is crazy. True, it never rained blood or anything like that, but the transformation of these cult members and the leaders, it's insane. You have the normal enemies mutating when they die is something to see, and it's pretty disturbing, but holy cow, the boss animations are some of the most terrifying creatures I've ever seen. This one here looks like it's straight out of John Carpenter's movie The Thing from 1983. The way the parasite rips the body apart, but keeps a few aspects of humanity intact, it has to be a reference to that movie. And it really isn't a huge stretch to think that because the way the parasite works in the host's body isn't that far from how the aliens worked in his movie. But it's not just this boss here. Even our little friend here who's present throughout the entire game, when he finally mutates and transforms, we get yet another amazing, horrifying, disfigured creature, and it's just crazy. I won't spoil any of the later boss battles, but the terrifying aspects don't ever let up the entire game. So yeah, it's never going to be just straight up gallons of blood pouring down the screen, but the gore is 100% perfect and the transformations and the animation just bring all of these terrifying and gruesome aspects to life. So between the aesthetics and the gore, the atmosphere of the game has the perfect setup for terror. But then the gameplay comes in and the tension is on full display. The game is a bit different than some of the earlier Resident Evil games and there's far more action and fighting. However, you are constantly under stress trying to figure out the puzzles while fighting off the perfect amount of enemies. They usually just keep coming over various walls or crevices in the area until the puzzle is solved, but they never just overload you like it's an arcade shooter. The game is focused on putting stress on you while trying to figure the puzzles out and not just simply blast through hordes of enemies. Like in this area here where you're trying to take out these catapults and you're trying to figure out the right pathway up to them and the enemies just keep popping up to distract you and try to prevent you from accomplishing your mission. But even if you kill all the enemies off, more will appear to keep that tension on you and the stress on you throughout the entire area. The tension is also present by the emphasis that the game puts on trying not to be detected. A great deal of the game can be covered by using stealth, and it is so rewarding when you take enemies out from a distance. However, when you're sneaking around like this, you are just one enemy sight away from blowing your cover. And when some of the enemies are being camouflaged, this makes it particularly stressful. Take these fellas and ladies here. They are insects or parasites and they blend in perfectly with the environment and you just don't see them at all until they are jumping at you trying to kill you. So not only is it tension, it's also a jump scare in the game as well. But it's not just worrying about when the enemies are going to see you, because the game also focuses on your other senses. Like there are these creatures that have been blinded by surgery or some sort of evil experiment, and they can only detect you through sound. So you have to sneak around, create sound distractions of objects in the arena, and then go in for the kill. The using of your senses to slow the gameplay down, whether it's through sight or hearing, is just stress at its best. But stress doesn't just come from tension. It also comes from the final aspect, which makes this a perfect horror game, the survival aspect. Literally from the first mission in the game to the last, survival is a key part of the experience. In the first mission, you have to use stealth to take out the villagers from the outskirts, but you are then required to get detected and a survival clock begins. You have to survive a set number of minutes before a cutscene finally starts. The enemies just keep on coming and keep getting stronger and stronger, and all you have to do is just survive. The game even ends with a time survival mission as well, but it's a little bit different scenery because you're on a boat versus a village, but it's the same exact type of survival. However, this is not the only form of survival in the game. The limited number of resources in all Resident Evil games creates the survival aspect as well. Yes, they are more plentiful in this particular game than some of the other ones, but you never feel like you just have a ton of spare ammo lying around. You have to choose your shots carefully, because once you are out of ammo, it just becomes a mad dash to find crates or to merchant for more crafting materials. Like I said, you don't run out of ammo as many times as some of the other Resident Evils, but the tension is still there on taking careful shots when you can to preserve the ammo that you have. Honestly, Resident Evil is the king of survival horror, and the limited number of resources to use and for crafting, it just keeps the tension at an all-time high. Overall, Resident Evil 4 is a league above the genre in expertly crafting all of these horror elements into one amazing experience. Where many games focus on one aspect of horror and do create some really fun games, it's the combination of all of these things together to make a truly timeless horror classic. But what do you all think? What do you like to see in a horror game? Which elements do you feel makes it the best horror experience possible? And which one is your ultimate horror game to play? Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on this. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, go out there, find a great game to play. Just simply have a great rest of the day.